I appreciate that opportunity to be here tonight. And man, you guys took some time out of your night to be here for Mental Health Night. So let's just, jump right in. I got a question for you guys. How's mental health going? How's the mental health state of America these days? What would you say? Oh, I got some thumbs down. Not so good. People, tell me a little bit more about that. What do you guys see?
I think it's just more aware. I don't know if the numbers are actually higher than they were 10, 20, 30 years ago. It's just there's more talk about it and people are more aware of it.
There is a whole lot more talk about it. In fact, here's some numbers. So this is actually brand new numbers, came out in March from the CDC. 44% now. All right, 44% of teens reported they persistently felt sad or hopeless during the past year. Could be diagnosed anxiety, depression. And that's a pretty scary statistic. We're nearly approaching half. So honestly, the more scary number up there is the second statistic. 80% of them don't ever seek professional help. And that's a little bit concerning for us because I often liken mental health to physical health. Okay, so imagine, do I have any athletes in here? Do I have any athletes in here? What do you play here? Swim and football. Okay, I saw some other hands. What do we got here?
Soccer, basketball, and football.
Soccer, basketball, and football. Yeah, how about you?
Soccer, basketball.
I love it, love it. How about you?
Soccer.
Soccer? Okay, beautiful. All right, so in athletics, it's pretty common that you end up going through some physical trauma, right? Have you guys ever rolled your ankle playing football or soccer, right? And if you roll your ankle, you experience some trauma to that foot. What do you do? What do you got to do to help it get better? Stop, rest. Okay, what if it's really bad? What is it? Who does the coach tell you to go see?
Dirt.
Just rub some dirt in that. Yeah, absolutely, right? Walk it off, right?
The nurse.
The nurse, yeah. Physical therapists, right? The nurses, doctors, if it's really bad. And it's interesting because when you show up to school the next day and you've got that ankle brace on, and you're walking around, you're hobbling a little bit. People are like, hey, what happened to your, ankle? You're like, oh, I rolled it while I was playing soccer, Nobody looks at you weird for wearing this ankle brace or having gone and seen a physical therapist or a doctor, right? They're like, that's what you do to heal. And unfortunately, our mental health is very much like the same thing. We experience emotional trauma that affects us in such a way that we need sometimes to go see therapists and counselors and sometimes even doctors. And that's totally okay. That's how we actually heal. So, but there's this weird stigma where, oh man, if you've gone and seen a counselor or you're seeing a therapist, then you must be weirdo. No, actually it's not. That's just the normal way of how we heal. And so, yeah, today's mental health has taken a really big toll. Now, what are some of the contributing factors to things, why we're seeing these mental health concerns? Well, wow, I see the family. The family is taking a hit. It's interesting because family is like the source of our greatest joys in life. It can also be the source of our greatest sorrows in life, right? And so all these extra pressures on families are kind of adding to it. Well, how about society, right? What's going on with society and mental health today? It seems like everybody's mad, It seems like everybody's just really willing to troll each other and say mean things and just angry. There's all this kind of, stuff bubbling up in society. And then for sure, technology has a major impact in that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what that looks like. But so yeah, we're in kind of a mental health crisis, right? You got Harvard, you got CNN, you got all these different articles and numbers and information. Kids are not all right. And there's a cry for help. And so there's a lot of talk about the problem. And tonight, we're going to talk about solutions. Because I'm kind of a solutions guy, okay? And there is hope, okay? There is hope with this whole mental health crisis. And so, just to give you a little perspective of where I'm coming from, Mr. Pollack said, my name is Joe Newman. I am the Director of Business Development at Life Launch Centers. It's an adolescent mental health facility where we work with kids and young adults dealing with this very thing: anxiety, depression, trauma, suicide ideation, all sorts of mental health issues, right? And it's been great. We've been doing this for about 4 years. We've learned a lot, and we've been able to help a lot of people. In fact, there's all sorts of stuff. You jump on the website, there's like radio shows and blogs, and we even have this online education platform where you can learn these lessons at home with your family. You know, we're trying to do everything we can. I even come out to schools like this and do suicide awareness presentations for different high schools. And so we try to do a lot to reach out to the community and provide support. But those people who really know me as this. Anybody know where this is? Lake Powell. Yeah. Do I have any Lake Powellers in here? Yeah. What do you guys like to do at Lake Powell? Yeah. I love it. Some exploring. So, I mean, yeah, this is my crew. The picture's a little bit old. There were 7 kids there. We've updated. We're now at 8 kids. So, you know, we get them out there pretty early on the boat. But yeah, this is kind of the fun things that we love to do. I love Lake Powell because it gives us a lot of opportunity to kind of push limits and do some crazy things like building waterfall, you know, water slides off the edge of cliffs, and do some flyboarding. And you know, I love wakeboarding. This is my son. Really proud father moment, right? When he's grown up wakeboarding and he finally learned how to land his first invert. And it's awesome. This is kind of where we build a lot of resilience. But it's not all sunshine and roses, right? Parenting isn't all sunshine and roses. For any of these, you know, when we're talking about building resilience, for any moments like this, there's like 1,000 moments of this, right? So, you know, we got to be real here, right? We're trying to build resilience, and ultimately, as a parent, as a father, I'm trying to do everything I can to help this guy turn into this guy, right? Confident, successful, able to, you know, take on life. That's what we try to do as parents, and it's really tricky. It's really tricky, but there's some really good things we can do to help. So we really are all about stronger families, stronger futures. And tonight we're going to talk about how you actually build resilience, okay? So I want to ask, of all the different things that mental health is affecting, what things are concerning for you that you see out there?
Anxiety.
Anxiety, it's a big one, absolutely. Here, you get the anxiety sucks sticker. Okay, anxiety. Anybody else? What other mental health concerns do you see? Depression, absolutely. I don't have a depression sucks sticker, sorry. But you can have an anxiety sucks sticker. Anybody, what else?
Self-image.
Self-image, body issues, right? Oh man, absolutely, it affects everybody. How about bullies? How about substance abuse, right? We've got suicide higher than ever. We've got technology, all these different concerns about mental health around these issues. But I'm so glad you guys are here tonight because we're talking about hard stuff, but we're going to talk about it in ways that we're going to grow stronger together, okay? Resilience. Help me out. Who can give me like an idea of maybe what resilience means?
Giving up.
Not giving up.
Trying even though you fail.
Trying even though you fail. I love it.
The ability to bounce back after an emotional trauma.
Yes, the ability to bounce back after an emotional trauma. And we often say, resilience is the ability to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move forward, right? I think about that picture of my son. You saw him doing that invert, right? That flip on the wakeboard. Yeah, how many times do you think he tried that before he landed it?
1,200.
About 1,200. I think so. Because it's a really difficult thing. And when you fly in the air and you don't land it, it hurts, right? You come down, and there's so many times, this is why I love Lake Powell, because I see so many times he takes a hard wreck and I'm in the boat and I'm like, oh man, I hope he's okay. Is he still alive? Like, you know, hope he's not passed out. And I go around and I pick him up and he's like, oh, it hurt. Okay, let's go again. And it's like, yes, that's resilience, right? Those kind of skills are essential, not just in our abilities like athletic abilities, but our emotional abilities. So let's talk about what resilience is and where we need resilience in life. The relationships, right? Anybody in here have difficult relationships? Yeah, like everybody, right? All relationships are hard, whether it's parents, children, friends, girls, whatever. Like all of our relationships are hard. In fact, we're in a relationship because we're willing to go through the hard things with that person. And so if you don't have resilience in a relationship, then we kind of shut down, pull inside, and kind of be lonely. We absolutely have to have resilience in relationships in order to survive, actually. And we'll talk a little bit about that. How about education? Anybody in here ever bombed a test? Well, how does it make you feel when you bomb a test? Terrible. You want to give up, right? You're like, oh, I might as well just throw in the towel. I'm going to get an F in this class, and or maybe I got to go, just drop out, right? No, that resilience is that idea that I'm going to pick myself up. I'm going to make sure I get all my homework in. I'm going to go talk to the teacher. I'm going to do some extra credit. I'm going to study extra hard on that next test to bring that grade up, right? You have to have resilience in education. Absolutely. How about at work? I like to ask the kids, anybody, where they work, and they're usually in like retail or fast food, right? And I say to them, you ever have anybody angry or difficult situations come up with at work? And they're like, oh yeah, all these people driving through the drive-through and they're all angry because it took 10 minutes to get their food, and and it's like, okay, so you got all these problems. If it's hard, why do you keep doing it? And they're like, well, there's some money, right? You got to have some money. It's like, yeah, absolutely. We all have difficult and stressful work environments. If you don't have resilience at work, you shut down, you're not employed. It can be a big problem, right? So how about emotionally? Anybody in here ever experienced difficult emotion? Like what? What kind of what emotion do you experience?
Disappointment.
Disappointment, absolutely. That's a big one. Anger. Oh, me too. Sadness, right? The thing is, we're actually supposed to experience all of these hard emotions. We have to experience hard emotion. If you don't experience sadness, guess what? You don't know what joy is. If you don't experience anger, you don't know what contentment is, right? It's crucial that we experience all of our emotions. And the question is how do we actually do that in productive ways so that we move forward, we grow stronger. Speaking of growing stronger, reminds me of these two little guys. When it comes to emotional resilience, unfortunately, you're not born with all the emotional resilience you'll need as an adult. So it's kind of like these two guys. Does this little guy have all the strength and ability that this big guy does?
Not yet.
I love it. Not yet. What's required? Time and work, specific exercises, and some time, right? This little guy, he can't spend the next, 10 hours a day in the gym for the next year. He's still not going to be as big as this guy, right? It takes time. There's some development that has to happen in order to have this resilience that we're talking about, emotional resilience. So we're going to go right into resilience. Now, I've handed out the handout there. It's got this resilience model on the back for you to refer to, okay? And we're going to work our way through each step and tell you about how it works and what we can do, the actual tools of how you implement this at home. There's been all these different modalities out there of research-based principles, and oftentimes counselors and therapists will specialize in a specific modality, right? And then that's kind of their thing. But what we did is we took the best principles from all these different modalities of like dialectical behavior therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, neuroscience, resilience research from Brene Brown, a whole bunch of stuff from Gottman and on connections. So we took all of these principles and made it into one simple, portable resilience model. Okay, that's the genesis of this model and how it works. So wherever we start, we always start with values and goals, okay? We often ask people, what do you value? And it's kind of difficult to put your finger on what it is that we value. Sometimes we ask kids and they'll be like, oh, I value my truck. And it's like, okay, what do you value about your truck? Well, that I can go anywhere at any time and do whatever I want. So what is it that we really value? Independence, right? So sometimes it's a little difficult to come up with the values. So we start with this sheet. In fact, I've got this QR code, you guys. If you want to pull that up, that you'll be able to use with your kids, with your spouse, with each other, in your relationships. Because what this does is you go through and you narrow down your top 10 things. And then you got to narrow it down to your top 5. And then you got to give away 2 more, so there's only 3. And then the very hardest part is you got to give away that last value, so you have your top 2 values. Your top 2 values function a little bit like directions on a map. Okay, like northeast, southwest, right? If you want to go north, there's a lot of paths to get there. But as long as you're headed in that direction, you're making progress, right? And that's how our values work. Sometimes when we talk about mental health and, you know, our kids are blowing up with whatever issue, we have a certain value that we want them to take upon themselves. But if they don't value what we value, there's going to be very little progress. There's not going to be a lot of motivation behind those goals. And so finding out what they value first, and then setting goals that will help them move towards those values, they'll have all the fulfillment and motivation to attack those goals. Okay? So, values and goals, that's where we always start. This is a really fun exercise, by the way. I first did it for myself. My top 2 values are adventure and friendship. You could probably guess that by some of those Lake Powell pictures, right? I love adventure, and if I'm doing something that's going to move me towards adventure or friendship, I'll do whatever I need to do to make sure I can have some adventure and friendship. When doing this with my 17-year-old daughter, found out that her values are much different. She values love and faith. And so I go, okay, if I want to help her take steps forward, we're going to have to build some goals around moving her towards those values, right? It doesn't help if I'm taking her on 4-wheeling trip, you know, thinking I'm going to spend some quality time with her. I'm like, yeah, this is going to help her get over her anxiety, right? Because we're 4-wheeling and this is adventure. And she's like, she's not feeling fulfilled from that, right? So it's also super helpful in relationships. We were having a little bit of issues with our 17-year-old daughter that we felt like there was a disconnect in our relationship. We said, let's do this exercise, find out what our relationship values are. So we went through every one of them. We said, okay, so in my relationship with my daughter, do I value accountability? Do I value ambition? Do I value balance? Do I value compassion? We went through the whole thing, circled all the ones that were important, striked it out, narrowed it down with her, by the way, and then found out that it came down to gratitude and love. And I was a big shocker for me. I was like, I didn't even think she cared about when I said thank you to her and expressed gratitude to her, because most of the time she kind of just shrugs it off and doesn't even like acknowledge that I expressed some gratitude. But she like fought for that one. She's like, no, I really, really need gratitude. And so we do things, we do goals, we do things to help move her towards our relationship towards gratitude and love. So that's one of the tools that we use to help establish values and goals, okay? Okay, we got to go into some neuroscience here for a minute, because the next thing we need to understand is what is going on inside our bodies physically to produce all of these different emotions and responses. There's a lot of complicated explanations about the brain out there, but we're just going to break it down to 3 simple areas. So anybody have an idea what the hind brain does for us? Any ideas? Okay, it's all about survival. It's all about the automatic life support functions. Okay, so at about day 22 in the embryo, the body turns on the heartbeat, right? And the hindbrain's responsible for that, right? And throughout life, its primary responsibility is to make sure our heart's beating, we're breathing, or digesting, we're sleeping, all these things that we don't even have to think about that happen. This next section we call the midbrain. It really starts to kick on in about 4 months. Anybody been around newborn recently? Yeah? What's a newborn do? What's a brand new baby do? Nothing, right? Eat, sleep, and a diaper change. That's about it, right? But then at about 4 months old, you can see that midbrain turn on, and all of a sudden they get social smiles, right? Facial recognition, and you've been like changing this baby's diaper for the last 4 months, and you're like, oh, finally he smiled up at me. It's all worth it, right? We have a little 9-month-old. It's beautiful. We just went through that again. That midbrain is then responsible for all of our emotional it's the emotion center of our brain for the rest of our lives, right? We're trying to make sense of all the emotions that come out of our midbrain, okay? Now, this next section is called the forebrain. That forebrain is all about logical thought process, okay? And through this process called synaptic pruning, where it starts to trim away all the unused neurons, it starts at about age 11. And guess what? It's not even finished till about age 25, okay? And its primary job, the forebrain's primary job, is to help us put logic before emotional impulse. It's kind of an important thing to realize. It doesn't start developing until we're age 11. Now I need a volunteer. I got a demonstration. This guy. Can you help me out up here, bud? Come on up here. I've got an object lesson. Now, this guy, I can tell he's got some muscles. Look at this guy. He has got some big potential. Now, this is a 100-pound dumbbell. I love it. He's ready to go. This is a 100-pound dumbbell. I would love if you could pick up that dumbbell and lift it up over your head. Just give it a shot, you know, just give it a shot. You can do it. I trust you. I believe you can do it. Yeah, use your legs. Use your legs. Hey, you're doing an awesome job, okay? I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So 100 pounds, that's kind of a bunch. You probably don't even weigh 100 pounds yet. Is that right? I don't know. Well, you know, sometimes we ask our kids to do emotionally challenging exercises when they're 11 years old that they simply have not had the development in order to do. Why was I able to do that and not you?
Because you're older.
Because I'm older, right? I've had some time to develop, right? I've had some exercises that allowed me to do that in a safe way, right? Healthy and productive. Thank you. You're awesome. Here, I got a bracelet for you. There you go. I control my anxiety. That's what that's all about. So all the time, unfortunately, we see our children, especially our teenagers, right? I've got some teenagers. Their bodies are like pretty much grown up. They look like adults. And then, for whatever reason, I get frustrated that they don't act or think like adults. And all the time I forget that forebrain, that part that's designed to make logical thought process come before emotional impulse, just barely kicked on. They're like a fourth of the way through their development. When I give them one of these at 14 years old and say, don't look at pornography, don't bully people, they literally don't have the developmental ability to do that. So lots of times I think about this dumbbell. What am I asking my kids to do emotionally and not being patient with their natural development? Okay. Now, we got to go back to a little tiny piece of the midbrain called the amygdala. Okay, it's this tiny little bean-shaped piece here, and it has one really important function. When it senses a threat, it sounds a specific alarm. Anybody know what that alarm is? Yes, fight, flight, or freeze. Nice job. That's exactly right. When it senses a threat, it sounds the alarm. And watch what happens. You can actually see this in current brain scan technology, okay? When the amygdala senses a threat, it fires that alarm, and all of the synaptic reflex in that forebrain goes dark. Just shuts off. And all that synaptic electricity goes into that midbrain, right? It focuses around the midbrain for survival, right? And so all the time, we experience threat in life, and you just go into this like mode, and you're not thinking. It's really hard to make calculations or think, right? For a lot of people, public speaking is a very threatening situation. Even though our lives literally aren't in danger, why would public speaking be something that would trigger people? See, the great thing about the amygdala is it's so primitive, it doesn't differentiate between past threat or future threat or perceived threat or even actual threat. Just when it senses it, it fires and your forebrain goes dark. Okay? So when you think about from primitive terms, if you had to do some public speaking and your tribe didn't like what you said and you didn't have the social approval of your tribe, what did that say about your survivability? Right? Okay? So now we think about that from our kids' perspective. What happens when they make an Instagram post and they don't get any likes or hearts? Why is that a trigger? They get so mad they throw their phone across the room, right? And it blows up on the wall. It's a trigger because it's still perceived as not being socially accepted. And their forebrain goes dark and we're like, I can't believe you did all these things. Why did you do these things? They don't make any sense. Well, that's also because they have kind of underdeveloped forebrain, the ability to put logic before emotion. So that's a big challenge for them. Now the good news is there's some things we can do to help this, okay? When we experience one of these perceived threats, we call that a triggering event, okay? It could be a real threat. Say if you're walking down the path on a hike and there's a bear that steps out in front of you, you're really thankful for your amygdala that fires that fight or flight and woof, you're off running as fast as you can. You get all the adrenaline and glucose and all these different hormones that are saving your life, right? So the amygdala isn't a bad guy. It does a very important job, but sometimes the threats that we experience, the triggering events that we experience, are not always going to be actual life threats. And learning to distinguish those gives us power. So as we explore this curriculum with families, we define what our triggers are. Oh, it's a trigger when I post something on Instagram and nobody likes it. The next thing is, when we get triggered, we experience what's called emotional hijacking. That's where the midbrain has taken over, right? It's shut off that forebrain, and to the great expense of the rest of us, the rest of our body, we end up making decisions out of emotion, like throwing our phone across the room, right? When we make emotional decisions, we end up having to do some cleanup work. So when we have a difficult interaction with a spouse or with a friend, and we're hijacked, what's the cleanup work look like there? Apologies. Lots of the cleanup work that we experience is because we're emotionally hijacked. And it's really important to know what it looks like when you're hijacked. Everybody looks different when they're hijacked. Some people are fighters, some people are freezers, some people are flighters, right? I'm a fighter. I grew up as a wrestler. I love combat. I think I've met my best. My mind's quick and I'm like best, right? My wife, on the other hand, she's a freezer. And she throws up stone walls thicker than the Great Wall of China. And when we're hijacked, when I'm hijacked and she's hijacked, and we're trying to work through a problem together, what's that look like? Looks like me trying to beat up a stone wall. It's not going anywhere, right? We both just end up hurt. So we have to learn to disengage, step back from the issue, and apply some things that are going to help, some tools that are going to help us get through this emotional experience together, okay? Now, remember, resilience is not about avoiding hard things. It's about having the proper exercises to help you work through them in a healthy and productive way. Does that make sense? So, when we're hijacked, the first thing we do is we got to self-recognize. I'm hijacked. I am experiencing intense emotion. In fact, I'm going to put a number to it to try to quantify how much emotion I'm experiencing. So 0 to 100, how hijacked am I? For me, it's usually around 80. I go up real fast. Right, fight mode. Here we go. And I know that when I'm in fight mode, my skills are gone. My ability to think rationally and process what she's trying to say and all the stuff that I've got to disengage. We're not going to get anywhere. Then, not just disengage, but let's do some actual techniques that we can work through this intense emotion, okay? And that's what we call distress tolerance tools. Now, as we invoke some of these distress tolerance tools, it's awesome. You can actually see your heart rate decrease. You can see your breathing slow down. You can see blood pressure decrease. These are literal physical things we do to lower intense emotion. Some distress tolerance tools. There's some fun ones. Breathing techniques. Anybody seen the movie Luca in here? You know that movie Luca, the crazy fish people? Yeah. So there's this anxious kid who's riding on the back of the bike, right? And they're going down the hill and he's like, just breathe, right? You see this on a lot of different media. where they've kind of clued in that breathing techniques can help lower your intensity of your emotions. So we're going to teach you one of my favorite. It's called paced breathing. Okay, and there's a lot of these, but this one I use it personally a lot. And the way it works is you breathe in to the count of 4. On your exhale, you breathe out for the count of 6. Okay, when we breathe in, our heart rate naturally increases. When we breathe out, our heart rate naturally decreases. Okay, so if the overall output is greater than the overall input, then our heart rate will go down. So this is a physical thing you do to have a different physical response on your body to control what some of these sensations you're feeling. There's another set called loving kindness phrases. Okay, this is where I use this all the time on the freeway when somebody cuts me off and I'm like, I want to just like yell at the guy. Right? A loving kindness phrase sounds a whole lot like a wedding toast. Okay? You're not telling them what to do, you're wishing them well, and you're saying, may you reach your destination safely. Right? You let that one go. We experience something hard, we're just going to let that one go, right? All the time. I say it to myself too. You can wish other people well, you can say it to yourself. May I feel at peace. May I feel calm. Okay? This is an adaptation from the cognitive behavioral therapy stuff that said positive affirmations, where you look in the mirror and you're like, I am a powerful person. Those were, for a very long time, very popular. It reminds me of What About Bob, right? He's in bed, he's like, I feel good, I feel great, I feel wonderful, right? And he's obviously lying to himself. And we actually found through neuroscience that triggers the amygdala because you're lying to yourself. But you can transform that language a little bit, granting yourself that power and saying, may I feel good, may I feel great, may I feel wonderful. And it's like you're granting yourself permission. And it has a positive effect. You guys, you cannot teach this in the moment. When somebody's hijacked, none of this is going to work, right? You can't like tell them, oh, hey, look, I learned this really cool thing at a parent night about breathing, and I really want you to do it right now because it's going to help. No, sorry, it's not going to help. When they're hijacked, that logical forebrain is gone. But this is why we come to parent night. This is why we talk about these emotional tools in calm, relaxed settings and be like, hey, I learned this really cool thing at parent night tonight. It was called paced breathing. You want to try it out with me? Here's what we do. You establish it in calm settings, make it part of your family culture, and then you can draw on those tools in the heat of the moment. And I will testify from personal experience, it's still hard. When my wife's like, hey, I think you're kind of hijacked, and I'm like, I'm not hijacked. Right? And I go, oh, wait, shoot, yeah, I am. Case in point, here's another one, spatial awareness and numbering. This is a great tool. My son, it was New Year's Eve, and he's just 16, got his car, and he wants to go out to a New Year's Eve party. And I'm like, okay, curfew's normally midnight. It's New Year's Eve. If you got to be around for a New Year's party, you got to be there past midnight, right? So I'm feeling generous, Dad, and I'm like, how about we extend your curfew to like, I don't know, say like 12:30? Is that going to give you enough time to like wish Happy New Year and get home on time? And he's like, yeah, cool, thanks, Dad. Absolutely. So he's off to the party, right? And we're doing our party at our house, and 12 o'clock rolls around, and yay, Happy New Year's. 12:30 rolls around, my son's not home. Okay? Or 12:35 comes, still not home. 12:40 comes around, still not home. By 12:45, I'm like trying everything I can not to come unglued and be like, what is going on, right? And he rolls in at 12:45. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? And he's like, good. I'm like, everything okay? Yeah, yep. And I'm like, I lose it, right? I'm triggered. I get emotionally hijacked. I go straight to fight. I can't believe that you didn't say anything or call or what. I was trying to be all extra nice and give you this extended curfew, right? He gets hijacked, right? He's like, how come you're always worrying about me? Everything's fine. There's no problem. Sorry I'm late, but just, man, why are you always yelling at me? Blah, blah, right? We're both hijacked. Thankfully, in the heat of the moment, my wife comes through for us. She's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Does it look like maybe we're a little hijacked? No, I'm not hijacked. Okay, maybe a little bit. And then she says, how about we just take a step away, use this distress tolerance tool. It's called counting squares. Okay, go ahead and look around this room right now. How many four-sided objects can you count in this room? The bricks, right? You can count forever. So I'm counting all these squares in our living room, right? Take about 2 minutes just to step back, count some squares. And after 2 minutes, I'm like, okay, I found 74, And he's like, I found 82. And I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. Where are those other 8? I'm still fighting, right? I'm still in fight mode. I'm not totally calmed down, but at least I'm calmed down a bunch. To where I'm able to say, I really apologize for coming unglued on you there. I was extra worried because this is like the most dangerous night to be out on the roads. And I was really worried about you. And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. The first thing I should have said coming in was, I'm sorry. I lost track of time. And it's, boom, done, right? We got through that hard thing because we had the right tool, right? We didn't avoid the problem. We just worked through the problem in a healthier, productive way. Spatial awareness, right? This helps the amygdala because the amygdala's job, remember, is to scan the environment for threat. And so if it recognizes that I'm looking around counting squares, yeah, there's not really any threat around here. And then numbering, right, is also a logical thought process. It starts to return more power back to that forebrain. Now, it's not a light switch. You don't just flip it back on and you got all the, power back to your forebrain. It takes some time. It takes some steps, okay? The next, emotion and sensation is all about recognizing what kind of emotions you're feeling right now, okay? We have a really hard time defining emotion today. A lot because we're not doing it in our own communication. If you want to tell somebody how you're feeling with a text, what do? Emojis, right? We could put an emoji up here and ask you guys what this emoji represents, which emotion it represents, and we'll probably have 5 to 6 different answers. We have a hard time understanding what emotion we're expressing today because of our truncated communication. So one thing we help families learn is how to identify an emotion with a name. That's file memory recall, right? And then put a number to it again. I'm feeling angry like up to an 80. When I'm an 80, I better not engage because I'm going to be doing some cleanup work later, right? Through apologies and whatever. So, well, the next part is really important. This is the stories in my head, okay? This principle is to recognize that whenever we experience a triggering event, we automatically fill in the rest of the story with the doomsday scenario, right? My son is 15 minutes late for curfew. Where is he? He's dead in a ditch, run off the road by a drunk driver, and I'm never going to see him again. Right? That's the story in my head that actually makes me get emotionally hijacked. And when we address that story in our head and realize how much of this is fact and how much of this is fiction, we can deal with facts. It's really hard to deal with fiction. Right? And so, first of all, recognizing that we do this gives you a really easy way to address conflict, just by saying, can I check a story in my head with you? You were 15 minutes late for curfew, and I was really worried about all these things, and like you didn't even care. Oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that that's how you're feeling, This is a beautiful, beautiful tool, not just with your kids, use this with your spouse. Like, it's been so effective for me and my wife to just be able to say, hey, can I check a story in my head with you? I got this doomsday story going on in my head. And if I can bounce this off of somebody and help separate fact from fiction, that's going to help us move past this difficult emotion faster. And that's the vulnerability, right? You're worried about the judgment, but that's the beautiful thing is we connect deeper when we are more vulnerable with each other. The deepest relationships that we have are because we've been able to get vulnerable with each other. Especially when this language becomes part of your family culture, it becomes a lot easier. It's not just like the magic pill, it's going to work the very first time you do it, but it definitely opens up a lot of additional healthy communication. So the next one, this is where we all want to go. As soon as we realize that we're hijacked, we want to go to identify and solve problems, right? We're Mr. Fix-It Dad, right? It's like, there's a problem. My daughter came home crying. I'm going to run up there and talk to her right now, even though she just ran and slammed her door and she doesn't want to talk to anybody. I got to get in there and I got to fix it, right? She's hijacked. No, unfortunately, if she's got that forebrain offline, we're not fixing anything. You got to take the time to go through some steps to help return some of that power to the forebrain, right? Go through some of these emotions with her. In fact, that goes to our next point, is to recognize that go with the flow. We're all supposed to experience hard emotion. And so when your daughter's experienced this hard emotion, she just ran into her bedroom and shut the door and she doesn't want to talk to anybody, as you can gain access, do some empathy, right? Help her realize that she's supposed to experience hard emotion. We all are. Sit with her, with it. Sometimes we attach to hard emotion though, and we're like, oh, I want to give this, I'm experiencing difficult emotion. I'm not sure why I'm sad today, but maybe it's because, Colin didn't sit with me at lunch today. That's probably why, right? And as we learn this principle that we all do this, we all start to build that story in our head, or we try to take that emotion and add to it. That's us essentially not letting that emotion go, where we're supposed to experience emotions kind of similar to a wave, right, in the ocean. Like you're going to rise, you're going to fall with these emotions, and there's nothing wrong with it. Grief survivors often is a big one for grief, because they'll feel like they have had healed from the grief, and then all of a sudden they'll just experience this intense sadness again, and they're like, oh no, something's wrong with me. It's like, no, actually grief is a major trauma that is going to resurface over and over and over in life. And when you recognize that, hey, today's one of those trauma days, and then you can let it go, you're going to be a lot healthier and happier in progression. That's what go with the flow is. Finally, building connections. It's all about building connections. This is how we actually grow and become more resilient. See, because when we go through difficult emotional experiences, we often want to go tell somebody about it, right? Kind of instinctively, we try to unload. Now, sometimes culture and other things playing that says, no, bottle it up, don't unload, don't tell anybody, just deal with it on your own. How does that turn out? Usually not very good, especially over the long run. So building connections is that principle of learning how to establish healthy connections that we can talk about we establish support systems and be able to talk about our emotions in productive ways with others, okay? So that is the resilience model. If you guys want more of this, because this school is enrolled in this program, the Life Launch University program, here is your parent registration link. You can use that QR code to register as your parent registration. And there's about 90 lessons online about this. It's great. They're about 10 to 15 minutes each. They all include a mindfulness practice. And these are tremendous tools to use with family councils or whenever families together. We used to do this in the morning during the summertime because we wanted to have a healthy start to the day, and our family would do these lessons together. So can I go through one last demonstration? I know we're like a little over time. Technology, making it a tool versus a trap. I get questions all the time. When is it the right time to give kids a smartphone? And let me ask you this. When is the right time to give a 4-year-old a hammer? Now, hammers are an interesting thing, right? It's a very productive tool, right? We build houses with hammers. But when you give a 4-year-old a hammer, and kind of unsupervised, what do you expect? There's going to be some destruction along the way, right? We're going to have some broken glass. Somebody's going to have a bump on their head. You can even explain to that 4-year-old, don't hit your brother with this hammer, but I'll let you keep it in your bedroom at night, right? It's going to happen. We know that's going to happen. Absolutely. And the interesting thing is that some tools are actually designed as traps. I've got this little mouse trap here. And the way traps work, as you guys know, there's usually, some little piece of cheese or something out there on the end of that trap that will entice the little one to come and partake, right? And this particular mouse trap is designed very specifically and very effectively to entrap a little critter, right? And when it does, it has some harmful side effects, right? And they know that, right? The designers of this trap know it's going to harm that little critter. Well, I often liken cell phones, smartphones, to these traps. And I have, I've had the opportunity to meet with a really influential guy named Colin Karchner. Maybe you guys heard about him. He was a social media crusader. He unfortunately passed away unexpectedly a few years ago. But his big thing was stop giving kids smartphones. And you know, he would explain why and all these social media things, and we're up, you know, I had a chance to talk to him after one of his presentations, and he's like, thank you guys for what you guys do, because you're the ones up there actually putting out the fire. I'm just up there yelling, fire, fire, stop giving kids smartphones, right? I don't actually have the tools to help it, but you guys are the ones with the fire extinguishers that can put the fire out. And so it's difficult because there's these traps that our kids know about, and we try to keep them away from it or try to keep them healthy. But it's difficult because they even see us handling these traps all the time, and they're like, well, you're not getting hurt by it. That's not, you know, that can't be that bad, right? Well, there's some traps, especially out on the, in our smartphones today, that are a little bit different. They're a little bit more like this trap. This trap is a little bit bigger. It's a little bit more destructive, right? When, just by the way, I'm not going to stick my hand in this trap. We know that this trap is designed to do even more damage. I did this visual lesson with my kids because I got a bunch of teenagers and everybody has smartphones. They're like, Dad, how come we can't have smartphones? I was like, well, it's because I'm your dad. I know I'm supposed to help keep you safe. I know what dangers are out there. And there's some things that I have to experience, like working with a smartphone and how to, I can handle a smartphone and not get hurt. But there's even some things on a smartphone that I don't get involved in because I know that those traps are ultimately destructive. I choose with my own smartphone not to get involved in bullying or pornography or all these other traps that are designed to actually really ensnare and hurt people. And my job as your dad is to keep those things away from you. It was really fun as I did this with my kids. I have a son named Duke, and the name of this trap is called Duke's Trap. Right? It was great. And as I brought this out there, it was just similar to some of the faces I saw you guys. You're like, oh man, is he going to put his hand in that trap? My kids were thinking the same thing. And as I set this trap, they saw that destruction. I was like, anybody want a smartphone? Right? And they're like, you know, my 18-year-old son, he's 18, right? He's a pretty manly man. And I was like, here, you wanna try it? You wanna set this trap? And he's like, I don't know how to do that. And it's like, yeah, it's scary, isn't it? Because it has a real destructive force to it. At the end of the demonstration, he was like, okay, I think I do want to try it. And so at that point, yeah, he had the ability to set this trap on his own, and I was able to walk him through it so he didn't chop his own fingers off. Right? But I got to give him some space for that development to happen. Got to give him some space so when we ask him to do emotionally healthy things like not look at pornography, to put logical thought process before emotional impulse, got to give him some space, some time for that development to happen. So when is the time to give kids a smartphone? I always say never. Wait till they're old enough to buy it for themselves. And when you wait that time, then they have had a little bit more developmental period to make healthy choices for themselves. Well, you guys have been awesome. Please, if you want more information or some tools or tips, please use that QR code. Use these as healthy emotional discussions with your family, and I promise it'll help you guys grow in your resilience. So thank you very much for letting me be here tonight.